Sanam Naraghi is an expert in conflict resolution and gender and is head of the International Civil Society Action Network. Thanks for coming on the program. So, I mean, do you think that the Ayatollahs, the ones that are left, the rump regime, regard this as a major victory?
You know, I don't know whether they regard it as a major victory. I don't even know whether that's a relevant question at this point. What we should be looking at is the fact that you have a regime that is sacrificing a nation for its own survival in Iran. And then on the Israeli side, Israel that is willing to sacrifice Iran and the region, frankly, for its own survival. And it's sort of managed to muster up a diaspora that supported it. And in the middle, right now, both in Lebanon and Iran, you have people who are suffering. 67,000 homes have been destroyed. We've had petrochemical plants. We've had 2 missiles, a projectile and a missile lobbed at 2 different nuclear sites. It's serious. And the grown-ups are, I don't know what they're doing. You know, they're making money off the markets, or they're making fun of, you know, whatever Trump is saying. This is horrific, actually, what's going on. And we need a bit more serious attention from the diplomatic circles and aligned with international law.
Well, perhaps there aren't any grown-ups left.
Oh, no, there are. I think that what we've seen is the Omanis, for example, who have been very courageous and came out very upfront saying, this is a war of choice. It was Israel's choice to start this war. We have others in Europe who are standing up for it. In England, we have to make sure that we uphold our responsibility at the Security Council. We're there to mitigate conflict. We're there to be the firemen, not the arsonists. And the implications of this spreading are terrible for all of us, as we've all heard. So I think the question is, if you're allies with the U.S., bring them to the table. But really importantly, make sure that there's some guardrails around what Israel's doing, because it's not just in Iran. It's also Lebanon, the West Bank, and Gaza that's on fire as well.
Indeed. If this regime survives in whatever form, what can the people of Iran expect in the coming months and years?
That's a really good question, because what was happening inside Iran was that people from below, people were already making a lot of the changes and pushing for the changes. The economic sanctions, the maximum pressure sanctions that really quashed the poor and the middle class was a detriment to the public demand for change, and it emboldened the regime. This war, again, has hardened the regime. What we need to do is to remove that outside pressure so that actually Iranians can breathe and they can engage the government and what's left of it, as you say, and including all the progressives and the political opposition. All the political prisoners need to be freed, and no one's even talking about them. But there is tremendous sort of political capital inside the country.
But and as we, maybe perhaps reach a pause in the fighting that might last beyond 5 days, do you think it's possible that people will come back on the streets again and do the very thing that the Americans asked them to do at the beginning of the war, but they were too frightened to do?
Again, it's really hard to tell what the people will do, because the security infrastructure hasn't been destroyed. Iran has an army and a police force like normal, like other countries, but they also have the Basij and the IRGC, and they are everywhere. And if you destroy police stations, as the Israelis have been doing, the Basij is kind of embedded in the communities. They are of the communities, and they are on the streets right now. So I think we have to wait and see really what happens, but the pressure has to come off before the Iranian public can actually engage in their own political process. And with bombs dropping and the fear of, food and salaries and so forth, I think right now they've got other things on their mind.
Do you think that there's any way that this regime can do a deal with Israel and the United States that is acceptable to the regime, but also acceptable to Israel, that circle can be squared?
Again, great question. The issue of the dilemma with Israel is also situated in the question of Palestine. So if Israel were to agree to end the occupation and return to its own 1948 borders, I think a lot of things could get resolved. The problem of Lebanon would be dealt with. Palestinian statehood could be addressed. And actually, it would diminish any animosity that Iran has with Israel. That's always been one of the issues. That why would it? The Iranians and the Israelis were dealing with each other in the 1980s during the Iran-Iraq War. So this is not an existential question. It's a political question. And at the heart of it, the Palestinian issue needs to also be addressed to have that grand bargain, which is what you're alluding to.
Indeed, and we should never forget about that. Sanam, Naraghi, Anderlini, thank you very much indeed.